Hello everyone, I'm Dr. S. Satyapriya, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Science at St. Joseph College. Today I will talk about requirement engineering. It's one of the most critical phases of software development. Think of it, if you are building a bridge, you need to know the load it must carry, the materials to be used, and the environmental condition it will face. Similarly, in software development, requirement engineering helps identify the purpose of the system, who will use it, and under what constraints it will operate. In this session, we will cover the importance of requirements engineering, its types, processes, and challenges. Here, I will use relatable examples like developing a food delivery application to make these concepts clear. Let's begin by understanding what requirement engineering is. First of all, what is requirement engineering? Requirement engineering is the process in software development. It focuses on identifying, analyzing, documenting, and managing the needs and requirements of stakeholders and translating it into actionable requirements for developers. Also, it helps to bridge the gap between what stakeholders expect and what developers build. It's like a planning before you build something. Imagine you are creating a food delivery application. You need to know what customers, delivery personnel, and restaurants expect from the application. This process ensures the application delivers what users want while staying practical for developers to build. This process very critical because an unclear requirements leads project failure. Without requirement engineering, you risk building a product that no one wants to use or doesn't meet expectations. Requirements can be classified based on their nature, which help us understand their scope and purpose. Let's look at two main types of requirements: user requirements and system requirements. User requirements are high level descriptions of what users expect from the system. For example, a customer might say, I want an application to help me to track my food order in real time. These requirements are often expressed in natural language. System requirements are detailed and technical specification derived from user requirements. For example, a system requirement could be implement GPS based order tracking with updates every 5 seconds. Understanding these classification ensures we align user needs with the technical implementation. By breaking them down, we make the development process more structured and efficient. System requirements are further classified as functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Let's discuss these requirements one by one. Let's talk about functional requirements. Functional requirements describe what the system should do. These are the features and functions that the system absolutely needs to perform. In a food delivery application, it's pretty straightforward. These are the things that the user interact with directly. For example, think about it. The application need to allow users to search for restaurants. If user can't find what they are looking for, they are going to leave the application quickly. It should let users place an order, pick the items, customize them, and add them to the cart. Then there is a payment processing, whether it's through card, credit cards, mobile wallets, or cash on delivery. It has to be smooth and secure. Finally, it must notify the delivery personnel when an order is placed. If the drivers don't know there is an order, we have a problem. Without these functionalities, the system just wouldn't work. These are the basic features that users expect and need. Non-functional requirements define the constraints on system services or functions, while functional requirements define what the system does and non-functional requirements define how the system performs these tasks. There are different kinds of non-functional requirements. Product requirements, it's about performance, reliability. Organizational requirements, it's fully about policies and standards. And finally, external requirements, it's about laws and ethics. For example, performance is key. The application should load restaurant listing in 2 seconds or less. Imagine browsing through an application and it takes ages to load. You are not going to stick around. Reliability is another big one. We want the application to be up and running at least 99.9% of the time. Nobody wants to open the application when they are hungry and find it down for maintenance. Scalability: if our application gets super popular during a festival or holiday, it should still handle high traffic without crashing. And of course, security. With payment data and personal information flying around, that data needs to be encrypted to keep users' privacy intact. These non-functional requirements ensure that the application doesn't just work, but that it works well under all conditions. Let's think about why requirement engineering is so crucial in the first place. What are the importance of requirements engineering? It reduces failures and rework. It improves user satisfaction and ensure compliance and scalability. If you don't get the requirements right, you are essentially asking for failure. Imagine you launch a food delivery application without understanding your users' needs. They might want features like real time tracking or the ability to reorder last week's meal, but if you didn't account for those needs, you will have to go back and fix it, and that cost and money. Properly defined requirements reduces the chances of failure and save you from rework. It also leads to happier users. When the application works exactly how users expect, they'll keep coming back, and over time it will help the application grow as user needs evolve. Scalability is key. Investing time in requirement engineering helps ensure your application meets both users' immediate needs and future demands. So, how do we actually go about gathering these requirements? There is a process and it involves five main steps that are elicitation, analysis, specification, validation, and management. Elicitation is the process where you gather all the requirements from your stakeholders. Analysis: after gathering all the data, you need to refine it. You will probably have conflicting requirements. Specification means you take the refined requirements and clearly document them. Validation: this step ensures that the requirements are what the stakeholders actually need. It's a great way to do this is through prototype. Management means lastly, throughout the development process, you will need to manage and track any changes to requirements. By following this process, you ensure that the system you are building is aligned with the user needs and can adapt as things change. Discuss these steps little deeper. In this process, the first step is requirement elicitation. In our case, requirement elicitation is about talking to our stakeholders and understanding their needs. It's where we gather all the information. For example, customers might say, I want to be able to filter restaurants by delivery time and ratings. Restaurant owners might say, we need a way to track orders in real time. And delivery personnel might tell us, we need a simple way to contact customer if there is an issue. But here the challenge is you will often get conflicting requirements, such as stakeholders may not know their exact needs and conflicting view among stakeholders. For example, customer want faster delivery but drivers might need more time for accuracy. It's your job to handle these conflicts and make sure the requirements are clear. Now let's look at an example with our food delivery system. We have several stakeholders. We will collect the requirements from these stakeholders only if we prepare a food delivery system. Stakeholders are rec- restaurant owners, delivery personnel, customers, administrators. Regarding customers, they need a dashboard to track order, manage menus, and know when orders are placed. Delivery personnel need a real-time navigation to get to customers as quickly as possible. Customer always want things like order tracking, the ability to rate restaurant, and easy payment option. Administrators need to keep an eye on all orders, handle complaints, and monitor performance. So by we can use some elicitation techniques like interview and surveys, we can gather feedback and identify pain points like slow load times or difficulty finding restaurants. To collect the requirements from the stakeholders, we can use different techniques. The key elicitation techniques are interviews. and observation or ethnography. Interview can be open-ended or closed. Open-ended means questions are broad and open-ended, allowing stakeholders to express their ideas freely. For example, an interviewer can ask, what features would you prefer to see this in this product? This method useful when exploring new ideas or gathering detailed insights. Closed interview means where questions are specific and structured. Here, interviewer go with a predefined question. For example, interviewer can ask like, "Do you prefer feature A or feature B?" Second technique is observation or ethnography. In this technique, they observe things or watching user perform tasks to understand their workflow. Comparing interview and observation, interview provides clear insights while observation uncovers implicit requirements. Requirement analysis is the second step in the requirement process. Once we have gathered all the requirements, we need to analyze them to make sure they are feasible. Requirement analysis is the process of examining, refining, and organizing gathered requirements. The main purpose of requirement analysis is to understand what stakeholders truly need, to identify missing, conflicting, or impractical requirements, and to create a solid foundation for designing and building the system. For example, customers might demand same day delivery. Is that even possible with our current delivery network and staff? Or maybe we have a feature request for live chat support, but do we have the infrastructure to handle that? So, analyzing these requirements is a key ensuring the system is not only practical but also doable within our budget and timeline. Key activities that are involved in requirement analysis are categorize requirements, resolve conflicts, prioritize requirements, validate feasibility. Categorize requirements means group them into functional and non-functional and other categories. So resolve conflicts, it addresses any disagreement among stakeholders. Priorities requirements, it focuses on most important or urgent needs. Validate feasibility means it ensures the requirements can be implemented within the time and budget constraints. Once we have analyzed and refined the requirements, the next step is to document them in a way that's crystal clear and usable for the development team. The main objective of this process is create clear and detailed documentation. Why? Because vague requirements lead to misunderstandings and misunderstanding leads to failure. Think about this. Instead of saying the app should be fast, which is subjective and unclear, we specify something measurable like the app must load the home screen within 2 seconds for 95% of users on a 4G network. Now, this is specific. It's something we can design, develop, and test again. So this level of detail removes ambiguity and ensures everyone, developers, testers, and even stakeholders is on the same page. We can use some tools for preparing requirement specification like a natural language, use cases, and more. Once the requirements are specified, then we need to validate them. The main goal of requirement validation is to ensure requirements reflect actual needs. Why it's important? To ensure that what we have documented actually meets the stakeholder needs. We have used different methods to validate the requirements like prototyping, stakeholder reviews, and test cases. Let me discuss this concept with a simple example. For before building the full application, we might create a prototype, like a simplified version of the application interface, and share it with our customer and delivery personnel. Their feedback will tell us if we are heading in the right direction or if we need any adjustment. This process saves time and prevents costly mistakes. Imagine spending months building a feature that users don't even want or need. Validation helps us catch those issues early and ensure the final product is aligned with what users expect. Look at how a food delivery system works with a simple scenario. John, the customer, opened the app and browses nearby restaurant. The application retrieves a restaurant option showing menus, ratings, and delivery times. John selects a pizza and drink, adds them to this cart, and proceed to checkout. The system validates availability and applies any discounts. John confirms the order and pays securely through his credit card. The application notifies the restaurant to start preparing the order. Meanwhile, a nearby delivery driver is assigned and receives navigation details. Once the order is ready, the driver picks up the order and delivers it to John. So this example, I think, clearly explain how the use case method used to validate the requirements. Why changes occurs? Why we need to manage the requirements changes? In any project, requirement changes are inevitable. New, it's because new ideas emerge, priorities shift, or stakeholders might introduce additional needs. For example, imagine we are halfway through developing a food delivery application and the business team suggests adding a loyalty point system to boost customer retention. This was not part of the original plan, so how do we handle it? To handle these issues, we can apply some strategies like change control process and continuous documentation. Some of the steps we can follow to handle these process. First one is assess the impact. What resources are needed to implement this? How does it affect the timeline and budget? Will this impact any other features? To update the documentation, the new requirements need to be added to the specification and communicated to the development team. We can give some priorities. It decide whether this change is urgent or if it can wait until a future release. And we can also implement it carefully. It ensure the new feature align with existing requirements and doesn't introduce bugs or delays. So changes like this can sometimes lead to scope creep, where some small addition pile up, threatening the project success. That's why managing changes is just as important as defining requirements initially. Defining and managing requirements is never without its challenges. Here are some common issues we face during requirement engineering are ambiguity and scope creep, misunderstood or documented requirements, and dynamic requirements, it means changes in technology or business needs. Let's discuss some common challenges when preparing requirements for food delivery applications are unclear or vague requirements. For example, a stakeholder says make the app user friendly. What does mean that? Does it refer to initiating navigation, faster loading times, or something else? Without clarity, the development team might build something that doesn't meet expectation. And then conflicting requirements. It means customer might want faster deliveries, but drivers may request more time to ensure order accuracy. So balancing these needs is tricky. And then changing requirements. It means stakeholders often change their minds. For instance, they may request a new feature like a real-time group orders halfway through development. Handling these changes without disrupting the timeline is a challenge. And then stakeholder miscommunication. It means different stakeholders may involve, like customers, restaurant owners, and delivery personnel, might not effectively communicate their needs, leading to gaps in understanding. Finally, technical feasibility issues. Sometimes what stakeholders want is not technically or financially feasible. For example, implementing instant delivery for long distance order might not be realistic. Addressing these challenges require clear communication, proper documentation, and regular validation to ensure everyone is aligned. Engineering is critical for building successful systems. It ensures that your system is not just functional, but that is built with the user's needs in mind. Whether you are building a food delivery application or any other system, investing time in getting the requirements right from the beginning will save you from rework, improve user satisfaction, and set you up for future success. Thank you, and I would like to answer any questions you have.